Hello, hello. It's Friday night. How's it going? Sorry for no stream this morning. I slept in. I woke up, it was 11:30. Apparently I needed some sleep. It happens. Let's see, my mic's good. Let's see if I can see chat. What up in chat? Hi, Arya. Cool. So yeah, what's been going on? Let's see, it's Friday, so there's been a whole week. The biggest thing was the Ergot 0.10 release, and I realized it's been like not quite 2 weeks, but maybe like 10 days since the last release. Hey, what up? People excited? There's been a lot of PRs, and not all of them are my name. Hey, what up, Baum? What up, Alexandra? Yeah, I was EP James this morning. That was in fact true. But not anymore, because I got some sleep, which is surprising, because I think I went to bed kind of early, so I guess I really needed sleep. But yeah, there was a release. There's some lovely people in this release. This might be the first release with other people in it, I think, actually. So it's an awesome for a .10 release. Let's see. The other stuff that's been going on that's been pretty cool. We've had someone in chat. So this is actually why I cut a release, is because someone was starting to use Ergot for their project, and I think they had been using it for a while, but they were trying to get a log service going. So using the log crate, and ran into some fun trouble of this. This is I posted about it on Blue Sky, but it is a classic problem to use your logging system to log about your logging system. So how this shows up in Ergot is that we use the log crate for a lot of stuff, and deformat in some places, but I've not been super consistent about this. But the problem is, if you try and make a log crate sync that uses Ergot as the backend, and all of a sudden you start logging on every packet you send, including your log packets, you get into this lovely infinite loop of like, oh, every log that I produce is recursive, and it might even be causing panics in this case, because we might be trying to get the lock, and the lock is already locked and it deadlocks. So not great. So Tommaso has gotten some stuff working. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but we're going to try and get that upstreamed either from Tommaso or from myself, pulling from Tommaso's work, and get a log sync in here. Then there was some lovely chat about maybe also having a deformat sync. Then maybe just to complete the whole trifecta, maybe we get a tracing sync in here as well. So this would be ability for people to use Ergot as like the backbone for these kind of logging transports, and maybe even in a fancy way be able to use things like RTT in some cases, for example when you're in development, but then doing logging over USB or something like that in later cases. Ergot won't help you if you want to like also put them on disk, but you know, could be part of a balanced log breakfast. That's the exciting stuff going on. I'm just pumped to have 0.10 out. Let me pull up, because some other stuff landed in 0.10. So we also have our... I'm not sure if any new changes happened to the book, but it's still there. We accidentally got rid of it for a while, and it was back between 0.9.1 and 10. But definitely a new addition is the conformance module. So this is kind of where I've been putting all the requirements. So if you've been to streams before, you've seen this lovely diagram before, but also sort of our requirements for this. And if we were to look at the actual source code for this, we could see there's also some unit tests for this that pick some of the, like, you know, basic cases so far and make sure that we are conforming to what the actual design is. This has led to a couple of other cool PRs of like condensing some stuff to make it easier to test. So those are two big ones that I did. I don't know if I've talked too much about those, so I can talk about those PRs now. In that I realized, so like we have this stuff in Ergot. So Ergot has profiles. Profiles are basically how we handle like external connections, basically, and like the behavior of our device with regard to those. So like if I have one or more interfaces, one of the main profiles is direct edge, which direct edge means I have exactly one interface, and I'm not like bridging anyone. I am like the edge in a graph, basically. And we have a couple impulse for that. We have one that uses embedded I/O async. So if you have a serial port, basically, or something that looks like a serial port. We have ones for Embassy USB, both 0.4 and 0.5. That might be all of our direct edge ones. Oh, no, we also have one for Tokyo TCP. So if you're using a Tokyo TCP port, we use this a lot in demos and examples and stuff like that. It's your way of saying I'm a device on the edge and I'm not going to do any bridging or anything like that. So before, all of their logics for like handling packets was copied and pasted with a couple of tweaks, I think mostly just referring to what type they used. But what essentially happened was I was able to remove that same copy and pasted impl from a bunch of different places and then have one that was generic enough that I was able to have all the logic be exactly the same. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because if you're going to have to test all of this logic, you want it to only exist in one place, because then you only have to test that one place. And I managed to find a way that did that reasonably. And that was exciting. And I think this is one of those things that would have been much harder before we landed some other changes to like squash the Ergot base and Ergot crate together. But now it makes the generics just not tricky enough that I was able to do it somehow. Not somehow. I figured out how to do it. It was nice. And then I went back and did the same for direct router. So direct router is kind of the other side of this. Let's see. Nope, that's blue sky. Let's not open up my blue sky. Ergot. Let me pull this back up. I don't know where. Did I just... Oh, it's still here. It's just behind a different window. Where's a good place to show this? I know. I can go to the Ergot docs, I can go to the book, and I can go to the feature overview, which shows like different shapes. So this is what our direct routers look like. It's when you have one central router and it's connecting to a bunch of direct edge devices. So whenever you have this star and or hub and spoke topology or star topology or whatever you want to call it, that's the direct router's job, is to be the hub, and all of the direct edge devices are direct edge. So what I was able to do is basically the same. We had 3 implementations, one for NUSB, so like when you're a PC using USB, Tokyo Serial, so when you're using embedded I/O async and you're a PC and you're using Tokyo Serial for that, and Tokyo TCP. So right now our routers are exclusively a desktop stdlib kind of thing, but we're again able to crush all of that logic down to a single place, so there wasn't copy and paste. Numinex says, "Damn, this is one of the things that I wanted to contribute but didn't have time. Very busy with your project." Hey, I'm glad your project is going well, that you haven't needed to look elsewhere. But yeah, I'm glad that I did it too. And yeah, I'm super glad to have you, Numinex, as one of the contributors in 0.10. Numinex added the Tokyo Stud feature, which is breaking up. Before we only had a feature called Stud, but all of like the TCP socket stuff handling, because it was async, we were using Tokyo. So Numinex added a Tokyo Stud feature, which I later went back and kind of broke back into Stud and Tokyo Stud, because we had some things that were Tokyo specific, like the TCP socket stuff, and other stuff that was just using like Stud collections, like heap allocations and stuff like that. So I broke those back up. So Stud now means like I just use heap collections. And honestly, it probably should be like Stud, alloc, and Tokyo Stud or something like that. But this is fine for now. So yeah. Awesome to see you in chat. Awesome to have you in this release. What else? I mean, I've gone through a lot of these. Let me go through the more recent ones. I think I talked about this in the last stream of adding clippy checks and things like that. Honestly, if Ergot was in the state that it is right now, we'd probably use it internally for our use case, a mesh for inter-thread communication. I don't know how long you evaluated that, but yeah, I mean, Ergot's coming along, and I'm happy with it. If you decide to change your mind, let me know. We might still replace the sharded queue crate one day with Ergot, but so many other things are on the roadmap. I don't know what project. If your project is public and you want to plug it, NewmanX, let me know and I can pull it up. But if it's private, then don't worry. I won't. I don't want to do stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. I would love to see some more folks use it for stud only. I think they will quickly run into the problem that it's essentially single threaded. Like the dispatching is single threaded. So again, in our let me go into book. Let me find what you can do. I don't know if I have these diagrams anywhere. I think this is one of those diagrams where I say, like, I should pull this diagram somewhere. But I have a diagram that shows basically, like, processing a message, like sending a message into the net stack is very single-threaded right now. That being said, that single-threaded is just depositing it's doing the routing and putting the routing to the destination. You can still have sockets on multiple threads that all are able to pull from themselves when they receive a message, but if you got to the point where like dispatching messages exceeded the capabilities of one thread, I have some ideas of how to break that up. But to be honest, I think probably in most cases, if your sender is bound single-threaded, then I don't think you're going to... Well, I would love to have people run into these problems because I have some ideas on how to fix them. But until they do, it's probably not going to be a problem for a very long time. So, yeah, I would love to see more folks using this for, like, intra-process... intra within a process messaging. And then at some point I would love to see someone doing this for, like, I have a bunch of workers and I'm spawning up 20 workers that are doing this, and instead of using TCP REST requests or WebSockets internally, using something like Ergot within a network. I think that would be neat. I don't know. I'm sure you will find things, same as everyone else, I'm sure you will find things that are missing, but it's been pleasant so far that when someone says, hey, this doesn't work, or I would like this to work, that either me or someone else now has started adding it, and that's been very, very cool to see. So yeah, I am very hyped for that. Oh, I forgot to do the thing that I said I was going to do. Well, we're 17 minutes in. I'm going to be at Rust ChinaConf in like 2-3 weeks, like mid-September. So if you're in China, if you happen to be close to Hangzhou, come say hey. I'm going to be talking about Ergot there. I'm going to be at Eurorust in Paris in mid-October. I'm maybe going to be talking about Ergot there. I'm going to be doing a self-directed research episode there. It might be Ergot. Ergot might be too big for a 30-minute SDR pitch, but maybe the high level of things. So that's my plug. If you're coming to either of those conferences, let me know. I'd love to chat. Would love to meet up. Bound's asking, would it make sense to use Ergot within one program? I have a pretty ugly message routing system for my UI, and I've thought about replacing it. I would love for you to try. I can't guarantee it would make a ton of sense, but if you're currently like passing around a ton of channels and stuff like that, and a lot of like boilerplate is going into just passing around channels, try using Ergot. You can either make like a global static, a global stack. Well, a global static that is a stack, and you could just have everyone grab from that global, and you can do things like discovery and getting things by name, and opening up sockets where you'd like. So it's kind of like a magic bucket of channels that you can start talking into. I think that would be very neat. Or you could do it, there's another way that you can do this. You can do an arc, so you could just pass the arc around if you have something that's like ephemerally lived, but if you just need a global backbone that lives forever, doing it as a static I think will work really well. I'd love to get your take on it, even if you just take like, some time in peeking at it and looking at the examples and go, how would I replace this with this? one cool thing, Baum, about within a single program is that Ergot cheats, and that if you are sending messages within a single program, like the destination socket is on the same machine as the source that is sending it, we actually don't do any serialization. So it should have effectively the same cost as a regular channel. You know, it's not super optimized like crossbeam channels are and things like that. And there's still some routing there. So there's still some overhead, but you're not paying like round tripping cost and reallocations. The only limitation is your type has to be clone, because we have to like deposit it there. But I have an open issue for maybe lifting that. So if that becomes like a perf limitation, let me know. And we might have like a send local that we could add that doesn't make it clone and might not support broadcast cases. But yes, I would love for you to try it. Same as everything else. It's experimental. You might run into bugs, but I think it would be really neat for that. And I would love to have that as an example, especially if it's something open source. Noobnex, not so big of a fan of going to China, but might go to Eurorust. Hell yeah. If you go, let me know. I don't think we have a discount code for SDR or like a referral code or anything like that, but if they have any sort of box that says, how did you hear about it? Feel free to mention me or SDR or something like that. I don't think we have any kind of referral code. We're going to go. Alexandra won't be at your Rust. That's okay. I hope you have a lovely October still. Alexandra might port some of her messaging stuff to Ergot. Didn't realize it would work that well for inter-process worker stuff. If it doesn't, then let's fix it. It's aiming to be cheap enough that even a micro, like that's kind of my whole shtick with like Postcard and Postcard RPC and then Ergot is like, well, if it's cheap enough for a microcontroller to afford it, it's probably going to be stupid fast on a desktop. And if you do have multiple processes, I do think it could be very neat for inter-process communication. Right now, your only choice for that is sort of TCP. We could have a UDP impl, or we could have a UDS, like user domain sockets impl. The only problem with that is there's not a great async version of those that I've found, but we could have a worker, like the nice thing about Ergot's design is you can decouple the worker, I call them worker tasks, like the RX handler and the TX handler. Those could be threads. Like those could totally be blocking threads, and it shouldn't be a problem because we already kind of isolate the worker from the net stack using a queue. So you could have it be blocking on both sides basically, and it should be fine. And then eventually I would love to steal a page from, I forget what it's called. There's some Eclipse Foundation messaging protocol thing where they do shared memory stuff, and I would love to, like the BBQ2 should be IPC safe. We need to come up with like notifications so that you can get notifications for that, but it's built in a way that I think given a week or maybe less than that, maybe a day or two, we could probably get a version of BBQ that works with inter-process shared memory. And then you could do some really cool stuff where you can do shared memory between processes and get networking be stupid fast, which is what I think it's called Icerix. Someone can check me on that. Icerix, I don't know. It's an Eclipse Foundation project. Rust Eclipse Icerix. It's got like all kinds of Isorix. Let's not be mean. I'm sure it's a very nice project. Icerix 2 specifically is written in Rust, and they do some, like the way they're like latency is amazing is because they do shared memory. They use shared memory channels, and they have some libraries. Basically, I want to go into their crate and steal their shared memory stuff for at least setting up the shared memory region, and then use BBQ2 as the interface for that so that you can do a single producer, single consumer channel. Probably take one shared memory and do it half and half, or do two shared memories or something. Yeah, Numenex got it. But yeah, I would be very interested in that. But this is like I haven't gotten there because this is, what I've said for all of this is like I want to fix the things that people are asking for, just so people have, like, if that unblocks them from using Ergot, hell yeah, I would love to have more folks in on the ecosystem. So I'm gonna keep doing that. Yeah. I don't know how much I looked at this a while ago, but yeah, I don't know. The cool thing that I'm aiming to do is like have this be across many different kinds of devices. Although I guess they have some FreeRTOS stuff planned. Oh, I guess it's still planned where we have ours working. Well, let's see. Before I guess they have QNX, which is an OS. That's interesting. But yeah, my goal is to do like bare metal, async await type stuff. But yeah, I think it's neat. I would love to have some corporate backers, so I can set up with a foundation. If that's you, let me know. Okay. So yeah, things are going well. I don't know what's gonna come. What's gonna make us go to 0.11? I don't know what's gonna make us go to 0.11. It'll probably be something, but I think we're starting to get towards close to stable interfaces. Like I wouldn't slap a 1.0 on this yet. There will definitely be some breaking changes, but I'm hoping that we've kind of gotten down. Like we're at the point where what we kind of need to do is flesh out some of the shapes that we have now. Stuff like one of the big things that I want to get hammered out next is, let's see, what's on my wish list now? If you're in chat, shout out your wish list. But mine is actually sending NACs. This was part of the reason to clean up this stuff. So like if you send a message to another device and it says my buffer is full, right now we just drop that request. What we could do is go, oh, my buffer is full, respond back and send a NAC so that the other side knows. Because right now we kind of have, you have to just time out. Like if something doesn't answer your request in enough time, you'll have to time out. You kind of always will have to do that because some messages just get dropped. But yeah, I'd like to get that fixed. I need to go take another stab at borrowed messages. The borrowing stuff is spicy because it is tricky. Yeah, it's tricky. But it's very useful for things like large buffers. So this use case is for doing like if you have two microcontrollers, one that speaks Wi-Fi and one that doesn't, allowing you to proxy Wi-Fi stuff over there. And that means if you're sending large frames, we'd ideally like to not copy that more often than we have to or waste space. So yeah. Alexandra's wish list is getting proxying, forwarding, whatever the name for that was. Bridging, I think is what I call it. But that's, yeah, it's a lot of merge conflicts. I basically dropped it a while ago. Or like, this hasn't been updated since I think before 0.91. Like, this is from 3 weeks ago, and we've been moving fast. I'd probably throw it away, but like, I don't know. There's some bits in here that I'm going to want to like copy and paste into that. So I might close the branch, but not delete, or close the PR, but not delete the branch. Yeah, that's a good call. One of the big things that we need to be able to do is doing bridging or like real routing and things like that. And there's some discussion here about what that needs. So like figuring out how we assign net IDs and then some level of how we assign node IDs for things that come and go would be useful. I don't think we're as far away from this as we were before. I think some of the stuff we've been doing with services will help a lot with that, where I think it'd be very reasonable now to set up a service, just call it like the seed router service, and handle net ID assignments. And that's something you could start today, because like right now, this just... we could extend our current thing. So we could take our existing direct routers and make them support that. You just need something that's smart enough to like balance that. Which network IDs am I giving out locally and which ones am I going to give out remotely? And then how do I keep that alive? I think there's an issue or some discussions for that where I have a lot of discussion. Like this talks about it a little bit about like finding the seed router and then how do I... This is local only. That's not what I want. Service functionality. This is more of the like negotiated connections. I thought I had one for name server? Question mark. I think this talks about it a little bit. I don't know, one of them. But one of the big things you need to be able to do is go to the seed router and say, hey, assign me a net ID. So like when we're here, so like the first thing that's going to happen is like let's say this isn't connected to start with, and these both start up and they both go, I'm net ID 0. That's local. We can just talk to each other and that's fine, but we can't bridge any connections. Then you connect over USB, or like USB comes up at some point, and we go, hey, I am a bridging interface. My interface has come up. I'm going to be just sending, once this gets assigned a non-zero net ID, like, okay, the PC connects and the router assigns this is net ID 5. And you go, wonderful, I have one net ID, but I have an interface that does not have a net ID. So I'm going to ask this direction, hey, can someone give me a net ID? And then you either do that periodically or whatever. And then at some point, this direction, you go back and you say, okay, you can have net ID 10. Please confirm. And then this one goes, yep, I'm 10. And then maybe like every 30 seconds or minute or whatever, this one says, yep, I'm still 10 and I'm still here. And then this one turns around and goes, hey, we're net ID 10 now. And then this one goes, great, I'm net ID 10, whatever. And if this one has more stuff, this one goes, hey, I need a net ID. Can someone give me a net ID? And this one goes, sure, you can have net ID 12. And it goes, great, now I'm 12. And then this becomes 12, and so on, and things like that. And then coming up with a way where figuring out what the logic needs to look like here for the routing. The important thing to note is that this one should be able to know what net IDs are in this direction and what net IDs are in this direction. Or rather, probably in this case, just which ones are in this direction, and then anyone that is not in this direction, always send in this direction. This could be as simple as like, okay, we're going to have a heapless vec of up to 32 net IDs. And we say, okay, this bridge is good for up to 32 net IDs in that direction or whatever. And that's a fine implementation for now. So we could just say like, okay, if you get requests for more than 32 in this direction, we're either going to like page them out, which might cause problems, or we just like reject requests in this. I don't know. I think this is very possible to build now. And I would build it in terms of the services that we have now. So now, I don't know if this... I think this is new to 10 as well, but in the net stack, we have these new... I should put docs on this. If anyone wants a good PR, these need docs. I don't know why I didn't put docs on these. We have things for like services and endpoints and topics, and we can set up services that run this. And then, so like this would be like, hey, I'm going to define a seed router service that might only be enabled in stud mode or something like that. And then endpoints, which might be like, hey, I can make an endpoint request to get an assignment, or I can send a topic broadcast to request seed ID or something like that. Yeah, that was the idea behind building services, is like anything that we need to put in the net stack, we can put here. If we want to have like a specific separate one that's like routing as whatever, and we have like a separate category for that just to keep them separate, cool. But I think doing something like services, endpoints, and topics are going to be the way to go. But yeah, if anyone else wants to shout out in chat, that'd be awesome. If anyone has any questions, otherwise I'm very excited. I'm pumped that we've got stuff going. There's still more stuff to do. I think next I'm gonna probably help Tommaso get the log stuff merged. If Anatol mentioned getting a deformat sync, maybe. Happy to help Anatol do that. Otherwise, yeah, if someone wants to pick up bridging, I'd love to have that. Yeah, I'm down for whatever. I'm very excitable. So just drop by chat and come say hi on Matrix. That's linked in the repo here. Yeah. Okay. I guess last call for any questions in chat for the folks hanging out now. I did have the client work that's supposed to start in mid-September. They got in touch with me and they want to start a little bit early because they have some stuff going on. So I'm probably going to be spending a little less time. I told them I couldn't do full-time because I need to get this done for my talk at Rust China Conf. So I'm still going to be active, but we're going to kind of slowly work towards what it's going to be like in 2 weeks, where I'm working mostly full-time and helping folks out. So I'd like to keep streaming. It may not be 6 streams a week, but I'm going to keep some streaming going. Not for the week that I'm in China, but yeah, I might slow down a little bit, but I'm going to keep the ball rolling. And like I said, I would love to have people continuing to do stuff, and I would love to keep this running before I wrap up with that client at the end of the year. And then we'll see what happens in January. And spending more time on this. I might do, like, after this, because this work is at least theoretically going to wrap up at the end of the year. I might take another 2 to 4 weeks or something like that to sit down and do more full-time stuff on Ergot at that point. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing some stuff. I'll keep you updated. I'll try not to drop streams. Sorry about that this morning, but I'll keep this updated and keep going. And yeah, if folks are trying stuff out, then that gives everyone some time to chew on it, and I don't know, we'll see. I don't have a goal for a 1.0 release, but I'd rather do it earlier than later after with Postcard. So I'd rather do one and then say, okay, Ergot just releases major versions every 6 months or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I am excited about it. Okay, I haven't seen any more questions in chat. I'm gonna check Blue Sky. No one asking questions in Blue Sky. I'm gonna check. Hold on, I'm gonna blank you out because I don't know where's Beeper gonna pop up. Beeper's gonna pop up over here. No one asking question in the Nemos chat. My dog is very cute again. Hold on, let me download that. I got an important picture of the dog from the wife. So we get a cute dog. This is a cute dog. I'll move this. Don't be creepy about my wife's legs. This is my cute dog. Yeah. So now we've had cute dog. We're going. Okay, then I'm probably gonna wrap up. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Yeah, cute dog. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. I will be back on Monday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope I'll have more fun stuff to share on Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone. Now I have to go find my OBS button. Okay, bye. Bye-bye.